Jai Shri Krishna and happy Rakshabandhan. I've missed our stories together. But here we are celebrating Rakshabandhan together with a story. Rakshabandhan, the special festival that celebrates brother and brother bonds, sister and sister bonds, brother and sister bonds, and those friendships that we have in which our friends become like our siblings. And our culture celebrates each of those as these lifelong friendships that we can treasure and cherish. The story I'm going to tell you today is about a sibling bond in which they're not related by blood, but from the Mahabharata, Krishna, who everybody knows, Vasudeva Krishna, Gopal, the one with the flute, the butter, and the Sudarshan Chakra, and Krishna, Draupadi Panchali, born of the yogic fire, who becomes pivotal in this amazing story. And so Krishna and Krishna share a lot in common, including their name. The word Krishna has two meanings. One is black. Both Krishna and Draupadi were dark of complexion. And Krishna also means one who attracts. So like the pupils in our eyes with their dark black attract all the light and bring everything in, Krishna and Draupadi were such that every eye in a room, every eye in the world would turn toward them and be mesmerized by their inner and outer beauty. Once, when the Pandavas were in exile in the forest, they wondered how they would provide for themselves for the 12 years that they had to be in exile. They prayed to Surya, the sun god, and he provided them with an Akshaya Patra. The Akshaya Patra would provide them with all the food they could need. Once they gathered everything, Draupadi and the Pandavas could mix it together and make a big pot of food, and then they could all eat from it. But the way the Akshaya Patra worked is that once Draupadi had her last bite, it would be done. I guess it was sort of like an Instant Pot. It would be cool and it would not provide food again until the next day. So every day they would go out, they would gather food, and they would eat fresh berries, and they would prepare whatever food they had in the Akshaya Patra. And then they would share it amongst each other, and they would eat to their heart's content. But as soon as Draupadi took that last bite and she said, "I'm full," the Akshaya Patra would be empty. They would clean it out, it would be empty. Once, sage Durvasa, who is known for his hot temper, came with all of his disciples into the forest. And he came upon the Pandavas' hermitage and he said, "My disciples and I are very hungry. I'm sure you'll be able to provide us something to eat. But I'll give you time. We're going to go and we're going to have a bath, say our prayers, and come back and eat." And Draupadi and the Pandavas looked at each other. What do they do? The Akshaya Patra had just become clean. They had just eaten all their entire meal, and Draupadi had taken her last bite and it had been cleaned up. So Draupadi thought of her spiritual brother, her best friend, Krishna. And sure enough, he appeared. And he came into the hermitage and said, "Oh, smells good. What have you been cooking, Krishna?" And Draupadi said, "Well, we cooked and then we ate, but now Durvasa Rushi is here and he wants to eat, and we really don't need another curse or any problems this year. It's been a rough time." And Krishna said, "Don't worry, give me the Akshaya Patra." And he took it in his hand and he looked at it and he said, "Oh, you've done a very thorough job cleaning this, but there's a little grain of rice right there." And he found a little dried grain of rice that, sometimes sticks under the rim, and he put it in his mouth. He says, "Oh, if the grain of rice tasted so good, how delicious must the meal have been? Oh, and I'm so full from this. I think I'm just gonna have to go home and take a nap." And so he left. And Draupadi and the Pandavas looked at each other like, "What just happened? I thought he was gonna help us." And they looked at the Akshaya Patra, which was as empty as ever, and they dreaded the moment when Durvasa and his disciples came back. And sure enough, they came back from the river, but they were all rubbing their bellies. Oh! And they said, "What happened?" And Durvasa said, "I don't know. We had finished our prayers, and then Suddenly, we felt just so full, as if all the food in the world was in our stomachs. And we just, I'm so sorry, you must have prepared food, but we cannot eat another bite. Oh, and saying that, all the disciples and Durvasa Rishi left and went off into the forest. And Draupadi and the Pandavas looked at each other, and Draupadi thought of her brother and how whenever they would meet, he would never tire of feeding everyone around him and then eating himself. And she thought there must be some truth to what everyone said. He was Vishnu himself, the one, Vishwambhara, the one who feeds the universe. So I hope to see you again soon for a story. Happy Rakshabandhan, everyone.